The honeymoon phase is officially over for the Indiana Fever. The hype videos are no longer enough. The preseason promises are starting to sound hollow. And after another painful collapse under the bright lights, the entire basketball world is beginning to ask a terrifying question. Is this roster actually built to help Caitlin Clark win, or is she being set up to fail in real time? Because what we just witnessed against the Washington Mystics was not simply a bad shooting night. It was not one unlucky game. It was a full-scale exposure of every structural weakness that fans have been warning about for weeks. The offense looked disorganized. The defense looked exhausted. The bench looked overwhelmed. And through all of it, Caitlin Clark was once again forced to drag this team back from the edge almost entirely by herself. The final score only tells part of the story. Yes, the Fever fought. Yes, they made another dramatic late push. But the deeper issue is far more disturbing. This team keeps falling into massive holes before Clark has to transform into a one-woman rescue mission just to keep them alive. That is not sustainable basketball. That is survival mode. And survival mode is not how championship teams operate. For most of the night, the Fever offense looked completely broken. The spacing was cramped. The ball movement stalled. Players hesitated on open looks. Washington's defense swarmed every pick-and-roll action and dared Indiana's secondary pieces to beat them. They couldn't. The Mystics executed their scouting report perfectly, collapsing into the paint and forcing the Fever into uncomfortable half-court possessions. Bullets forever won. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark was being trapped, bumped, pressured, and chased across the floor possession after possession. And yet, despite struggling early, despite starting cold from the field, despite taking constant physical punishment, she still found a way to completely hijack the fourth quarter and nearly steal the game. That is what makes this situation so emotionally exhausting for fans. Every single night feels like Clark has to perform basketball miracles just to give this team a chance. And the numbers back it up. The Fever have now scored over 100 points multiple times already this season and still found ways to lose because the defense continues collapsing at critical moments. SB Nation, too, the offensive firepower exists. The star power exists. But the structure around those stars is showing massive cracks. Let's talk about the biggest issue that everyone watching can now clearly see. The front court. Again, the Washington Mystics attacked Indiana's interior defense all night long. They got whatever they want around the rim. They bullied the Fever in transition. They generated second-chance opportunities. They forced switches and hunted mismatches. And once Aliyah Boston went down with another lower leg issue late in the game, the entire defensive structure started shaking. That injury update felt like a punch directly to the stomach of the Fever fan base. Because now the fear is becoming impossible to ignore. This roster depends on Boston and Clark to carry an unsustainable burden every single night. And when one of them is compromised physically, the entire system starts wobbling. Fans already spent all of last season watching Clark battle through constant injuries and physical wear. Reports throughout 2025 repeatedly mention quad problems, groin issues, ankle setbacks, and ongoing recovery concerns. Reddit 3.
When we don't consistently defend. Again, and this is on us as coaches. Like, this is our responsibility. We got to be disciplined the entire game. We got to be disciplined every possession. We're taking chances. We're fouling shooters who are about to shoot tough shots. We got breakdowns in coverages.
So when viewers hear words like lower leg injury connected to Boston, while Clark is also dealing with constant physical pressure, panic naturally spreads across the fan base. And honestly, it's understandable. Because this team plays like it has absolutely zero margin for error. The moment Boston sits, the rebounding suffers. The paint defense weakens. The physicality disappears. Opponents instantly attack downhill. And then Clark has to start creating offense at an impossible pace just to compensate for everything collapsing around her. That fourth quarter comeback was both inspiring and deeply alarming at the same time.
That's our biggest area of growth is everyone wants to go over and they're making shots. And for us, that's our biggest room for improvement right now is when things aren't going well, we still got to be able to defend and, find ways to get stops. And we haven't done that very well to this point, same way it was with our opening.
Even now, despite all the frustration, Clark continues delivering historic level moments. Her late game takeover against Washington reminded everyone exactly why arenas erupt every time she touches the ball. SB Nation 2. One deep three changes the atmosphere instantly. One transition pull-up ignites the crowd. One no-look pass completely shifts momentum. She is basketball electricity. But electricity alone does not build championship culture. Structure does. Discipline does. Depth does. Defense does. And right now, Indiana still looks like a team trying to figure out who they are while simultaneous.
Best defensive moments and worst.
I think a lot of things. One, intensity. I think attention to detail. It's little things. It's initial positioning. It's communication. It's reacting. It's relaxing off the ball. There are a lot of things that are outside of, and great players make great plays. And the thing that Washington does is they keep moving. So
that is an incredibly dangerous combination, especially because the schedule is not slowing down. Opponents are coming for Clark every single night now with aggressive defensive schemes specifically designed to wear her down. Teams are trapping her harder, pressuring her earlier, making every catch uncomfortable, attacking her physically in transition, forcing the ball out of her hands whenever possible. And unless Indiana develops more consistency around her, that pressure will only intensify. The Fever desperately needs secondary stability. They need role players consistently knocking down open shots. They need defensive communication improving immediately. They need healthier front court depth. And they need games where Clark does not have to enter superhero mode just to survive. Because relying on nightly miracles is not a serious long-term formula. At some point, this franchise has to decide exactly what identity it wants to build around its superstar. Do they want controlled structure? Do they want fast-paced chaos? Do they want defensive toughness? Do they want offensive fireworks? Right now, they seem caught somewhere in the middle of all of it. And basketball purgatory is the worst place a contender can possibly live. The next few weeks are going to reveal everything about this team. Either the Fever stabilize defensively, build chemistry, and evolve into a legitimate contender, or the pressure surrounding this roster is going to become absolutely suffocating, because fans are losing patience fast. And honestly, after performances like this, it is not hard to understand why. The talent is clearly there. The superstar is clearly there. The opportunity is clearly there. But unless the structure improves around Caitlin Clark immediately, the Indiana Fever risk turning one of the most exciting eras in basketball history into a season filled with frustration, exhaustion, and endless what-ifs. And that would be a disaster, not only for Indiana.
I mean, obviously going to the left, that's what I like, but at the same time, I don't get a ton of catch and shoot threes, so, take what you can get, but it was great, but I don't really care because we lost.
Caitlin, 37 minutes tonight. How do you feel coming out of that one? See the smile on your face, so that's probably...
I don't really care because we lost. That line from Caitlin Clark doesn't just hang in the air. It cuts straight through everything else, like the final truth nobody in the building can escape. It's the mindset of a winner stuck inside a system that just isn't holding up its end of the bargain. And now the stakes in Indianapolis are no longer theoretical. They're brutal, immediate, and staring everyone in the face. The Fever are dropping games they should have closed, giving up 100-plus points like it's becoming routine. And if this defense doesn't change fast, there won't even be a playoff conversation left to have. Imagine the fallout if a season built around Caitlin Clark ends without a postseason appearance. The media storm, the headlines, the narrative shift from celebration to collapse. It would be unforgiving. The fans are doing their part. The arena is loud, the energy is real, and Clark herself has already acknowledged that crowd as the only reason the team had life late in that game. But the harsh reality is simple. Fans can't defend the paint, fans can't fix rotations, and fans can't turn a roster gap into a rim protector overnight. That responsibility belongs to the coaching staff and the front office, and right now, those answers aren't showing up. Stephanie White's post-game tone only added to the frustration. More explanations, more phrasing, more distance from the actual problem. When you give up a 20-9 second quarter at home, foul constantly, and send your opponent to the line again and again, that isn't just a bad stretch. It's a breakdown in discipline and structure. And the uncomfortable comparison is already being made. Even in earlier struggling eras, Indiana didn't look this disconnected this early. Now the pressure is building beyond social media anger. Because when you waste a 32-point performance from a generational guard by failing to solve basic defensive problems like pick-and-roll coverage and interior protection, the questions stop being emotional. They start becoming logical. How long can this continue before real changes follow? Is the coaching staff losing control, or is the roster simply not being put in positions to succeed? And more importantly, how much longer can the front office ignore the obvious hole in the paint before it costs the entire season?